pro wrestling world is still mourning the death of one of its most treasured legends, Scott Hall. I've decided to take a look at some of his greatest moments in the industry to honor what his legacy truly meant to wrestling fans. The two-time Hall of Famer encompassed best in his Hall of Fame speech his legacy, so I'll try my best, Chico. These are the top 10 memorable moments of Scott Hall. Number 10, 1, 2, 3 Kid. Even though it was a losing effort, Scott Hall at his prime would put over the Kid, later to be known as the 1, 2, 3 Kid from this very moment. Later to be known as Six-Pac, who teamed with Scotty as part of the NWO, who later would become known as X-Pac. Damn, Sean, choose a lane. The Hall of Famer would show his willingness to put over the next generation, and even though he was on his way out, he gave back to the business, so pretty cool, man. Number 9, the Razor Ramon vignettes. After running wild on the indies and at other promotions, Hall would be accepted into the WWF with open arms. He had tried out for the company in the past but had been rejected. Finally, in 1992, they had a spot for him. His gimmick was pretty much ripped off of that of Tony Montana's Scarface character, but boy did he run with it and run with it good. They filmed a series of vignettes, and as Hall said in his character, that particular character, it went over big with the fans, and he took full advantage of giving them everything they wanted. The rest, of course, is history. Number 8, first IC title win. Even though he wouldn't win a world championship, Razor Ramon Scott Hall has to go down as one of the greatest intercontinental champions of all time, picking up his first championship win against Rick Martel. Rick Martel and the Razor battled back and forth using grappling moves, and ultimately, Razor Ramon would finish off Martel with the Razor's Edge, picking up his first ever intercontinental championship. Number 7, facing Randy Savage in his last match. Hall's TNA run was interesting. Yeah, let's go with that word. In one of his first matches with the company, himself, his best friend Kevin Nash, and Indy Triple H would team together as the Kings of Wrestling. Yeah. He faced the company's greatest export, AJ Styles, as well as the legendary Macho Man Randy Savage in what would be his final match before passing away, and Jeff Hardy, who also had some interesting times in Dixieland. Needless to say, this was Hall's first run with TNA, and his second one wouldn't be better, but this match does stick out for some fans. Number 6, challenging Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 18. Of course, WrestleMania 18 will always be remembered for Hulk Hogan and The Rock facing off, but Scott Hall and Stone Cold is such an underrated legendary showdown. This was Razor Ramon versus the Rattlesnake. Hall and Nash were just back with Hogan as part of the new NWO, and they wanted to make a statement. Hall called out Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they put on a decent match. This would ultimately be Hall's final WrestleMania match. Number 5, that ladder match. We all know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, then are you even really a wrestling fan? But I would have my suspicions. Hall's time in the WWF was a great run, but the moment that perhaps will never be forgotten was that ladder match at WrestleMania 10 against Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship. This match showcased both men's talent and charisma, solidifying them as two future Hall of Famers. Number 4, the return of the NWO. With many of the bad decisions that WCW made on the way to its demise in 2001, a mismanagement of the greatest wrestling faction was inevitable. But it was in 2002 that Vince McMahon decided to go mad. Look at him, all mad and whatnot. He brought back the original trio for a run, and the initial run was quite a time to be a pro wrestling fan, as they would run right through the company like a poison. A poison! Yeah, that's my Vince McMahon impression. The NWO got to mix it up with two of the biggest stars in the industry at the time, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and their short time together in 2002 was something to remember. Number 3, the Outsiders take on WCW. Nash and Hall may be one of the greatest tag teams and real-life friends in wrestling history. They formed the Outsiders tag team, and then they took the entirety of the WCW locker room over at their whim. They held the show hostage at times, or seemingly, and all the while they looked like they were still WWF guys all the way through. This actually led to a lawsuit in which McMahon believed it was copyright infringement. They indeed needed to address it on TV station, clearly stating that they were not employed with the competition, the World Wrestling Federation. generation. A crazy time, and one which the line between reality and fiction is so marred it's hard to see. Now talk about epic moments in pro wrestling. The Outsiders sure did make a splash. Number 2, the formation of the NWO. Everybody knows that NWO was for life and too sweet, one of the most iconic moments in WCW history. So much has been written about this over the moment that I'll assume if you're listening to this, you know how impactful it was. I firmly believe that without this moment, without that Hogan turn, without the alignment of Hall, Nash, and Hogan, the Attitude Era would never have happened. As the Attitude Era was Vince's way of pushing boundaries, much in the same way was WCW as soon as Hogan turned heel and started that faction with Hall and Nash and changed the wrestling industry as a whole. And number 1, WCW debuted in 1996. This had to be number 1. This had to be the bad guy's most iconic moment. Before Twitter and the internet wrestling community, you would actually have to tune in on a TV to see what was going to happen. There were no spoilers, just utter shock. Hall would sign a contract with WCW for a lot more money than what he was making in the WWF and for a lot less days worked. This piqued his interest. His debut shocked the world because many thought he was still employed to the WWF. When he showed up acting like he was still a part of the rival company, fans were utterly confused in a moment that truly reshaped wrestling history at the time. And even though he's gone, Scott Hall's legacy has been cemented. His influence on wrestling will always have a hint of him in some way, shape, or form. Hey yo, rest in peace. I leave you with his Hall of Fame speech. Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Thank you, Scott.